Hi guys, and welcome to this first video in the series, and I'll be going through the oscillator section in Serum and just showing you all the basics of the oscillator section and what different things do, keeping it nice and simple. So in Serum we have three oscillators. We have the subsection here, we have oscillator A and oscillator B. And we can just toggle on and off the different oscillators here. In each oscillator we can see the wave tables, and these can be used to generate the sounds. And these sounds can change over time. So if I go on to analog and select the basic shapes, we can see we start off with the sine wave. Then we can use this wavetable position knob here to scroll through the different waveforms. As you can see, we have the sine wave, we have the saw wave, the triangle wave, and then we go into the square wave. If we look at some of the other waveforms here, like the digital ones, let's say for instance this distorted sub, we have like a distorted version of our sine wave, and if we scroll through them we can see we have distorted versions of the basic shapes, some of them quite heavily distorted, as you can see there, and we can see how drastically the sound changes there. If we change their wavetable position just here using this knob, we can see the actual sound changes depending on which part of the wavelength we're on. So we can actually hone in on different parts of the wave to create different sounds. So this is cool guys, as it's the actual foundations of sound design where we can actually pick parts of the different wavetable position to create different sounds. So underneath this menu we can see the different pitch parameters for our new sound. So the first one being the octave here. This is great if we want to bring in oscillator B with another waveform with a different octave. So for example on this sound, if we wanted to have the same wave shape here, we could just go up to the menu and click on copy from oscillator A to B. So we've got a copy of that saw wave and we've got that on B. So on that oscillator B we could take the octave up, and this way we could cover a broader frequency range. So the next one is the semitones, which plays consecutive notes. So for example, if I was to press C there and play semitone of +2, you could play 1, 2, 2 keys up. So a popular way to use this one will be to take oscillator B up, say 7 semitones with the same sound. Then we can play with the octave and the semitones together to create some quite interesting harmonics. Then we have the fine tune, so we can actually slightly detune one of the oscillators. If any time you want to reset the values on these, you just simply right click on your mouse and go down to reset control, and it will take the parameter value back to 0, and you can do that with any knob. You just literally click on it and go reset control. So if we've got two of the same wave shapes here, we could detune the second one so it plays at a faster rate, and we could fine tune upwards. So I'll just go. Finally, we have the coarse pitch box, which will go through all of the previous ones gradually. So as we move down from the display box, we have further control over these wave shapes using these knobs here. So we have the unison one here, which is basically how many of the waveforms that we want to reproduce. So we could turn this one off and go 1, 2, 3, 4. So this actually makes a larger sound by increasing the amount of voices coming from this one synth. Then we have the detune, which basically detunes these saws we're using. So if I take this unison down to say 4, so these 4 saw waves can be detuned using this detune knob here. All 4 actual waveforms are being spread apart, and the further they're spread apart, the more they detune. So if we move across to the blend control, we are able to alter the volume of these added saw shapes. So if I've got 3, have the middle one more prominent in the mix when the volume is down, and further back in the mix when the volume is up. So basically just think of unison as adding more of the same saw waves there. So add 2, 3, 4. So moving on, we have the phase control. So the phase control is the actual starting point of the wave shape, and the round knob, if set to max, allows us to start anywhere it wants. So experiment with this, guys. So as you can see there, I've got a starting point there. In this section we also have the pan knob, where we can move the sound around the stereo field. So you can hear that panning left to right there. So this can create some depth in our sounds and add new dimensions. So we could pan that one all the way to the left, we could pan oscillator B all the way to the right. What you've also got there is the level. So the level acts as basically volume for that oscillator. So if I were to bring oscillator B down, you would have oscillator A more prominent in the mix. So finally, guys, we have this subsection here. If I turn that one on. So how do we use the subsection? Well, we might have oscillator A here, which we like the sound of, but we might want a more bassy sound. So if I turn the subsection on and go to a square wave, for example, we get that more bassy sound added on. So now, guys, let's make some sounds. So we've got a basic idea of how the different oscillators work. So what we could do is take 2 saw waves, and so I go on to analog and basic shapes. I'll go onto a saw wave, click on oscillator B2, or I could just go to menu and copy from oscillator A to B. So we've got 2 saw waves, and what I'll do is take the semitones up on the second one up to 7, and we could take the unison up on the first oscillator up to say 4. You can see we're starting to get that EDM ravey sound there. Or we could have a square wave and a saw wave. So I'll change the wave table position on this one. And then we can start mixing it up, and we could introduce one of the digital waveforms. So as you can see, we've got a combination of 2 different waveforms here, and all the settings are pretty much similar. So we've got quite a cool ravey sound there, just from having 2 different oscillator shapes. And then you can obviously go on to add some unison to the first oscillator. I've got the semitones up to 7 on that one, and the octave up to +1 on that one. And if I move through the wavetable position here, you can hear how the sound changes. So I hope that's been useful, guys. Just a quick look at the different oscillators in Serum there, and what all the basic controls do.